Okay, let's look at some equations that we need to balance. This is a question paper with some examples that I found, and we are going to go through each one of them. So let's start with the first one. So here we have sodium that reacts with chlorine, and we get sodium chloride. Okay, so what I like to do is, let's change it to black. Okay, I like to do this. Like to make a divider, then I write down each of the particles that I have on either side of the equation. Okay, so let's start with sodium. Sodium, I have 1 on this side, and the chlorine, I have 2. Okay, on this side, I have 1 sodium, and I have 1 chlorine. Okay, so then I like to use another color. Let me make it blue. Okay. Um, so I see the sodium is balanced, but now I need to balance the chlorine. So if I write here, I need to balance it with 2. But remember, that is now compound. So I'm going to write it here at the front. Okay, so that means it's going to multiply throughout. So if I multiply with the chlorine, I need to multiply with the sodium as well. But now the sodium is not balanced on this side. How am I going to make it balanced? I can times it also by 2. So then I'm going to write it 2. So then I can check how many sodium is on this side, it's 2. How many chlorine is on this side, it's 2. Chlorine atoms on this side is 2. Sodium is 2. So it's balanced. I just want to write it a little bit differently so you can see how it then will look. 2 sodium plus chlorine is 2, the subscript there. And this is the coefficient that we're going to change. It's that 2 because it multiplied throughout. And there we have a balanced equation. Okay, let's go to our next one. Here we have hydrogen, bromine. Okay, now I need my pen. I think let's start from the beginning. Okay, I'm going to rewrite it. We have our hydrogen plus our bromine. Now, let me write it a bit like this. Okay, let's start from the beginning. I'm going to write it like this, just to make it a little bit easier to write. Okay, sometimes when you write it out, it also helps your brain to focus, or it helps mine to focus. Think what I have. Okay, then I do this. I start to count the atoms on each side. Okay, so there's 2 hydrogen. How many bromine? Is 2. How many hydrogen on this side? Is 1. How many bromine on this side? Is 1. Okay, let's go and use a different color. Why isn't it letting me choose a different color? Oh, there. Oh my goodness. Okay, so yeah, let's start with hydrogen. Hydrogen is 2. We need to change this one at 2. Okay, so that means I'm going to change the coefficient. If I change it here in the front of the coefficient, it means I'm multiplying it throughout. So I need to multiply 2 with the bromine as well. That gives me 2. Okay, let's see on this side, there's already 2 bromines, so it is balanced. So let's go and write it now out. Just make it. Okay, so I need to put the 2 there. So it's going to be hydrogen 2 plus the bromine is 2, bromine is 2. There needs to be a 2 there. Hydrogen. Yay, there we have it. Okay, let's go to our next. Okay, let's go to our next one. Let me write it out. Okay, so we have oxygen and nitrogen. Almost said sodium. Nitrogen. Okay, so I'm going to write it again just to make it easier. Oxygen, nitrogen oxide, like this. So let's start our count. How many nitrogens do we have on this side? 2. How many oxygens do we have on this side? 2. We have nitrogen only 1, because there's an imaginary one and there's an imaginary one, and we have only 1 oxygen. Okay, so let's go and choose our different color. Okay, so it's 1 on this side, 2 on this side. Okay, so we need to times it by 2. And remember, it's a compound. So I'm going to not change the subscript. I can only change the coefficient. If I change the coefficient, it means it's going to multiply throughout this compound. So the nitrogen is going to be multiplied by 2 and the oxygen as well. Okay, so going to write it there. We're changing the coefficient. And on this side, it's 2. That one is balanced and that one is balanced. Yay! So now we're going to go and write our balanced equation. Nitrogen 2 plus oxygen 2 gives me 2 nitrogen oxide. Yay!